Have you ever felt a quiet ache when you see old photos, drawings, or notes from years ago? A feeling that whispers you were once someone who believed deeply in things. Back then, your dreams felt light like morning air. Now, life feels heavy, filled with duties, bills, and tired evenings. You don't talk about it, but sometimes you wonder what happened to that version of you. You tell yourself it was childish, unrealistic, or that it's just too late now. But still, the question stays, what if I hadn't stopped? What if I had just kept going? So many people carry this silent regret. They smile, they work, they survive, all while something deep inside sleeps. This story begins with one small moment, a moment that brought everything back. If you've ever felt this kind of loss, just listen. The story is for you. He was a gentle person, the kind who noticed the small things others missed. As a child, his hands were always busy drawing, writing, dreaming on any empty page he could find. Ideas came so easily then, like birds just resting on his shoulders. But time moved on, and life asked for practical choices. So he chose safety, routine, and quiet work. Now, his days were simple and predictable. Wake up, go to work, come home, sleep. People saw him as responsible, steady, ordinary. They didn't know who he used to be. In fact, even he had almost forgotten. Somewhere along the way, he learned to hide his imagination. He stopped listening to it. He didn't see his own worth anymore, only what he could provide and what tasks he could finish each day. He lives by routine now. Morning alarms, crowded roads, quiet meals, tired nights. Each day looked just like the one before it. He worked hard, did what was needed, and told himself that this was maturity. There was no space for dreams, only for tasks. When moments of silence appeared, he filled them quickly with phone screens, noise, any small distraction. Anything to avoid thinking too deeply. Inside, something felt missing, like a room in his house had been left locked for years. He noticed it most at night, when the world finally slowed down. A soft ache would press against his chest, asking questions he didn't want to answer, so he just pushed it away. He believed dreaming was childish, something meant for people with easy lives. Survival felt more important than imagination. His heart stayed busy, but it felt empty. He was moving forward every day, yet somehow standing completely still, carrying a quiet tiredness he couldn't explain. He wondered if this was all life would ever ask of him, and that thought frightened him more than anything. He found it by accident one quiet evening. While cleaning an old, dusty shelf, his hand touched a thin notebook. He didn't recognize it at first. But when he opened it, time folded in on itself. The pages were filled with uneven sketches, half-written stories, and hopeful plans. His younger handwriting leaned forward, full of energy and belief. His chest tightened. This was who he used to be. A warm feeling rose up, but then it quickly turned sharp. Shame followed. Why did you stop? He thought. Why did you give up on me? Each page felt like a question he couldn't answer. He wanted to close the notebook and return it to silence. He almost did. Holding it felt dangerous, like touching something fragile and alive. The hope from his past stood right beside the regret in his present. He believed he had failed his younger self. The weight of that thought pressed down heavily on him, making his hands shake. For the first time in years, he felt fully seen by his own forgotten dreams, which had been waiting patiently for him all this time. He took the notebook with him the next day, not really knowing why. At a small park near his home, an older man sat feeding birds, watching the morning quietly. When the man noticed the notebook in his hands, his eyes softened. He asked about it, gently, without any pressure. And the words came out slowly. The shame, the years, the stopping. The older man listened without interrupting, just a quiet presence. After a long pause, he said one simple sentence. You didn't abandon your dreams. You were protecting yourself. The words settled like calm water. For the first time, he didn't feel judged. Someone finally saw him clearly, not as weak, but as human. The mentor spoke of seasons, of how life sometimes asks us to simply survive before we can grow. In that moment, the isolation loosened its grip. He felt guided, not pushed, as if a hand had quietly reached out to him in the dark. The notebook in his hands felt lighter, and his chest felt open. as if permission had finally been given. The mentor pointed to the soil near their feet and spoke softly. A seed, he said, doesn't stop being a seed just because it's buried. It rests. It waits in the darkness, learning the weight of the earth. People think nothing is happening, but inside, life is preparing. Dreams are the same. They aren't loud all the time. Sometimes they sleep to keep themselves safe. He then looked toward the horizon where the morning light was slowly rising. Sunrise doesn't rush, he said. It arrives exactly when the night has finished its teaching. You believed your dreams died, but they were only waiting for you to be ready. Delay does not erase your identity. Time does not cancel the truth. Something in him shifted. The shame softened. The regret loosened its hold. This truth felt so new, like something he was never taught. His dreams were not gone. They were seeds, just beneath the surface, waking quietly with the light again after years of waiting patiently inside his heart. He sat quietly for a long time after that, holding the notebook without fear. The anger he felt toward his past slowly faded away. He stopped arguing with who he used to be. Instead, he just listened. He imagined that younger version of himself, so hopeful and unsure, doing the very best he could with what he knew at the time. Compassion replaced the blame. He realized he was never broken, only tired and afraid. Nothing around him had changed, but something inside felt so much lighter. The weight he had been carrying wasn't failure. It was misunderstanding. By accepting the past, he felt a space open up in his chest. Grace moved in where shame had lived for so many years. He didn't need to fix anything just yet. He only needed to allow himself to be human, unfinished, and still worthy of the dreams that once lived inside him. He went home that evening and placed the notebook on his table. He didn't make any big plans. He didn't promise to change his whole life. He simply opened to a blank page. The room was quiet. His hand felt unsure, but it moved anyway. He wrote one honest line, and then he stopped. He drew a small, imperfect shape in the corner. It all began quietly. No one clapped. Nothing dramatic happened. And yet, something had returned. The dreamer inside him took a slow, deep breath. Starting small felt safe. Waiting for perfection no longer mattered. In that simple act, he remembered who he was, and he allowed that part of himself to live again, with gentle courage and patience. Maybe you are holding a dream you buried long ago. You think it's too late or that life has already decided for you. But this message is for you. What rested inside you was not foolish. It was true. You are allowed to remember what once made you feel alive. Time did not cancel your worth. You can begin again, gently, exactly where you are, without shame, without rushing. Your dreams still recognize you, and they are waiting patiently for you today. If this story touched something quiet inside of you, just sit with that feeling for a moment. Let yourself remember. And if you know someone who feels lost like this, maybe share this story with them gently. Healing grows when it's shared, and connection often begins with one small, honest step. Thank you for listening. Remember to be kind to yourself. Follow for more stories like this